Hi there, this is Riker Jones with Local Marketing Institute, and I'm really excited to have Aaron Weiche here with us today. Aaron is the Chief Marketing Officer over at GetFiveStars, and we're really looking forward to getting a nuanced understanding of how GetFiveStars works. So without any further ado, I present to you Aaron Weiche.
Thanks, Riker, and thanks for having me on. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to everyone and give them a little bit of a view of GetFiveStars and what we have to offer in the product.
Alrighty. Hey, Aaron.
Yeah.
Let's quickly just go over one or two housekeeping notes here.
Yeah, please do.
My apologies. So I just wanted to say, please ask questions along the way, guys. We have a Q&A button on the control panel, and Aaron and I are going to answer your questions as they go along. If you're watching this on Facebook, please go ahead and post your questions as a comment beneath the video so that I can go ahead and ask them to Aaron here. And if you're joining us from the LMI website, please go ahead and comment on the post, and we can get those questions to Aaron as well. I also wanted to say the session will be archived. There's going to be a recording available on the VIP section of our website. That's localmarketinginstitute.com/VIP. We've got, I believe, over 35 videos there now. So you should go ahead and check them out, and you can try it for just $1 for the first 30 days. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I would go ahead and give it a shot. I'm sorry, Aaron. Now, if you wouldn't mind starting to share your screen, that'd be great. Let me stop here. Cool. So, Aaron, I want to spend the majority of the day today really getting into GetFiveStars and getting a deep understanding of the software there. But just to start us off, why should local businesses really focus on gathering reviews?
Yeah, great question. Reviews come into play in a number of different places, Riker. What a lot of people as both a business or if you're an online marketer understand is how well those little gold stars show up in Google search results, whether it's attached to your Google My Business profile and the local knowledge panel, or whether it's showing up in, the organic results that are there for Facebook, Yelp, TripAdvisor, Better Business Bureau, and a number of niche sites that might apply to the industry that your business is in. So it's kind of twofold. One, it gives visibility to the business within those search results. But second, and probably more importantly, is it provides trust and conversion for that user when they're doing a search and looking to make a choice on their next provider or service or product that they want to purchase with it. And the ability for people to, be able to crowdsource that and understand what other people's experiences were like with that service or product is definitely a very powerful feature nowadays for people. So that's definitely related to kind of the high front end piece of it of what's there. But as you'll see as we dive in and I show you more about our platform and what we're focused on and what we try to help to do, there are just so many other layers to when you look at, the voice of your customer and customer feedback. Reviews is possibly the most public because anyone in the world, if doing research on your business, can look up and find those. But we really believe in the power of what the customer has to offer you for recognizing outstanding employees or things that are great with your business, as well as giving you ideas or pointing out areas where you can seek to improve.
Awesome. And I know it's definitely a factor when I go to purchase something online or stop into a local business. I also wanted to give a quick recognition to the session that you did with us earlier this year that's also in the VIP section now, where you went into the importance of reviews and how to respond to negative reviews a little bit more too. So that is in the VIP section as well, and you should definitely check that out for more info on reviews in general.
Yeah, that was a much better interview because I was sitting lakeside in northern Minnesota for that interview, and instead of in my office, and that was in warmer times. That was like a 50-degree day in October. So I wish we were back there. That was a fun interview.
Absolutely. So
great.
Dive in if you're open to it.
Okay. Just want to make sure, Riker, you guys are seeing my screen just fine.
Yeah, I can see it clearly.
Okay, great. So with that, and for those of you joining and wanting a deeper look, really appreciate the opportunity to do so. As I was telling Riker, I've definitely done my lion's share of hundreds of demos, but I don't know if ever in like a webinar format. I'm used to doing podcast interviews and deep dives on things and things like that. So we'll see how well I do at, walking and clicking and doing everything at the same time today. So. And as Riker suggested, totally willing to take questions as we're going along as they come up. Riker is free to interrupt me. I know a lot of the questions and then the answers will make a lot more sense if they're related to, what we're looking at in that time. So with that, I'm just going to log into kind of a test account I have and give you some of the initial views and kind of walk you through some steps that you would see as if you were starting an account with us. And as we move through that, I'll be pointing out different features, what you can expect, what using the system might look like, and then different features and talk about the benefits of those specific features. So the first thing upon logging in when you come in this case, since I already have locations populated, is what we call our business dashboard. So this is going to give you a high-level sampling of locations that you have in your account. So if you're a one location business, we're just going to put you right into your customer screen. But if you're a digital marketer or a reseller of our product, this is where you would see each of your client locations within that screen. If you're a multi-location business, say you have 2 locations to your vet clinic or 5 locations to your dentist office, that's where you're going to see all 5 of those locations here and get kind of a high level sense as to what's taking place with them. As we go through the product, you're going to see one of our core elements is Net Promoter Score. So we're going to let you know what your Net Promoter Score is, how many requests for feedback have been sent, what your open rate looks like, the amount of feedback you received. Click to third-party review sites like Google, Facebook, TripAdvisor, and then we obviously do online review monitoring. So we're going to give you a little glimpse here of how that has grown. We have much more detailed visual reports on these things. So again, this is just a high level and mostly just to let you know the locations at your account, and then you select account and head into it. But for the purpose of this, considering if you came in and you were going to go and start your first business, I want to just kind of show you what onboarding a business would look like into our platform. So the first thing I'm going to do is click the Add Business button in the upper left here. And that's going to go me through a new location setup wizard. So pretty simple and straightforward. I'm going to enter in one of my favorite little taco shops that's in Minneapolis. I live in the outer suburbs of the Twin Cities area, but Rusty Taco is a favorite of mine. So one thing we have is integrated within our system is the minute you go to add your business, Google's API is integrated within it. So right away, you're going to be able to pull up and get a lot of that data pre-filled, and that's going to help us in some other areas of the product as well. So the minute I enter in Rusty Taco, I didn't want it to change the name there. There we go. It's going to pre-fill the address. I can drop in the website here. We have some extra fields that might be for like a location ID or something like that. We're automatically grabbing the business category from the GMB profile. And we do have a few different language options within our product, but we're obviously going to leave things at English today.
Great.
Next step, after we add the initial information, is then citing who the location owner is. So if it's me, the account owner, I'm just going to leave it as myself. If I want to put in a different location owner, maybe it's the GM or my marketing manager for that location, I'd put them in at that time and then check off that I want to send that user an invite to the system if they're brand new. Now comes to when we want to add a few branding pieces to it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go and grab the logo. Well, I thought I had the Rusty Taco logo on here, but maybe I didn't.
That's all right. Hey, Aaron, I think you're going to get to this question a little bit later.
Yep.
If I could pose it while you're...
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. It says, do you offer a white label solution? It's asked by an anonymous attendee.
Yes, absolutely. We offer a white label version of our product. So with that, you are able to, removes all the GetFiveStars branding with it, all the mentions of us, all of those different types of pieces. So you're you are able to do it. It's a one-time fee of $250 to create that. And then it's created at a subdomain that you are able to then use with a domain of just a generic domain of reviewability. So if you were, Aaron's Agency, you buy the white label, you can then create aaronsagency.reviewability.com, and that's where your users will log in. Your logo is applied to it, and all mentions of us are removed from it.
And that sounds like a great option for all of the agencies, local agencies that are on the call today. So I'm happy we covered that. I was going to get to it a little bit later, but hey.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. So was I too, more at the end, but definitely a good question.
Cool.
All right. So I tracked down my Rusty Taco logo. Once I add that, then we also have a brand option. Some of the emails and landing pages. So what we automatically do is detect the color scheme within the logo, and then you're able to choose which color out of that color scheme you want to use for various elements. So there's a little bit in the email header, and then NPS and survey score, survey question buttons and things like that. We'll use that accent color as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Nice and simple and easy to get the branding up front. The next step is then asking, which sites do you want to monitor for new reviews? So we automatically are going to detect Google and Facebook for you. You can go and verify those links if you want. If you check it out and there was somehow an issue because you have a GMB issue or, something just didn't resolve right, you're able to check those out. Then if you want to add additional sites, so like our base package, you can monitor up to 5 sites. Our pro plan, you can monitor up to 10. So if you wanted to go and add an additional site, in this case, let's just use Yelp. One thing I want to point out is we do allow you to monitor Yelp, but our system does not ask for Yelp reviews to keep in line with their terms of service and things like that. So we'll keep tabs on what's happening with Yelp, but we do not allow you to ask for Yelp reviews within the system. And that's a majority, if not all systems nowadays.
For sure. So are there 2 or 3 networks that you would suggest that every local business should keep an eye on?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to obviously ignore Google these days. And, the reason why we also have, Facebook embedded is those are usually the main 2. What I suggest for most businesses is, do a brand search for your business that's, good enough to get the local knowledge panel on there. So if it's a unique brand name, just the brand name is going to work. You might have to include your, city and state. If it's more competitive, you might have to give address data. But once you do that, you're going to see the review profiles that rank on page 1 for you. And those are definitely important ones that you want to focus on and pay attention to. Depending upon the market as well, you might want to do a search where you do your brand name and city and then type in the word reviews. And that might expose a few other sites as well. So what we see with that secondary type search is then you realize that pages like BBB or MapQuest or Yellow Pages might also populate for your business. And quite frankly, as an overall, we see more and more consumers typing in a search specifically for reviews. So they want to actually, skip some of the things that are offered by content you control in your own website, and they want to go strictly to third-party review sites.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the next step after I add those, it'll then ask me all right, which sites do I want to request new reviews on? And since I already added Google and Facebook, those are there. If I didn't want to ask for reviews on one of those sites, I would remove it. Again, since we don't allow you to ask for reviews on Yelp, that's not one of the options. If there's further sites and I want to ask for, I can go and then add that site and then just add the URL for that site and then ask on that site as well. So you can ask on as many sites as you want. We usually find, 2 or 3 is more than sufficient enough, and you can change those up at any time. So you're not, even though you're limited in monitoring 5, you can ask away on as many sites as you'd like, and they can be completely different from what you're monitoring to what you're asking on.
Okay, great.
Second to last step is then we ask you, what are your goals? So as we'll jump into next, we kind of have what we call 3 different request modes with our platform. So 3 different ways that you can ask different steps and different data in the process with a customer. So right up front, we understand that people aren't going to understand what those modes are, what they're supposed to do. So we just want to ask you, what are your top 2 goals for using GetFiveStars? So we lay out kind of some of the main things that you might want to understand about your business. So if I'm going to say, yep, getting third-party reviews on Google and Facebook is important, but I also care about Net Promoter Score.
So Aaron, can you go into just a little bit more about like what the Net Promoter Score is and how it's calculated?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, just give me when we jump into kind of the next piece, I'll show how it surfaces in our product, and then I'll definitely talk about that.
Great.
Last step here in the setup wizard is just to send yourself a test email request. That way you can see like what the stock content and everything looks like. How does it look in your inbox? So if you want to drop in your address and a couple others, you're able to do so. Otherwise you can skip that step as well, like I'm going to do. And then this is where you're dropped into the request modes. So again, just as I talked about in the way I answered questions, now it's going to, let me know what mode is being recommended to me, and I can edit each step in the process. So I'm just going to go and get started. So with this, our most commonly used mode is what's called ultimate mode. And it's called ultimate mode because we allow you to capture Net Promoter Score, ask a handful of survey questions, get textual feedback, which you can use as first-party reviews and testimonials, and then request third-party online reviews as well. So how our process works, once you've selected a mode over on the left, you're then able to go into each step in the process and adhere to different settings and the content that happens in that. So, a very common question with us is people say, all right, Aaron, you're requesting, you're asking for your customer to talk to you over email. Why couldn't I just do this by email myself? And my response is, you absolutely can, but our emails are going to look better. And then it has things built in like this, like reminders, right? So you send a feedback request, and when that goes out, if the customer doesn't respond to it, I can set this so that in 3 days after that, it's going to send them another request as a reminder. And then I can turn on a second reminder and say, all right, now 6 days after that, send them, our third attempt to capture feedback from them. And interesting enough, we see some pretty even engagement across all of these different reminders. So the more of them that are turned on and that you put in front of the customer, it's just more people that you're getting into your feedback funnel.
And do you see that 2 emails is usually a good way to go to get good feedback, or is 1 okay? Would you recommend 2? How does that?
Yeah, I definitely recommend, using as many as possible, just spacing them out. So it's not, just wham, wham, wham. And that's why we put them in days instead of hours. We try to, with some of our settings, we try to protect people from themselves. So, just as I alluded to, we'll see, right? If you send 100 requests out, you might get 15 the very first day that respond to the first request. Then you might get 15 that then respond to seeing it a second time because when it came in, it was just a bad time. It got buried in another email, things like that. And then another 15 that might respond to that third request. So you definitely see some interaction come from each of those. So most of our more successful customers are using, definitely 1, if not both of the reminders.
Cool.
So now if I want to jump in and edit, just by clicking edit, I'm now taken in and you can see I can edit the subject line. I can edit the majority of the content of the email itself. We have different tags built into it, so you can automatically personalize and grab things like the customer first name and last name or website business name, all these different data pieces that are in our system. You can automatically pull that into any of the emails or landing pages. So now if I go down to the body of the email where you can say, hi customer, my name's Aaron with Our Taco, and we'd love to hear about your recent experience with us. Take a minute to answer a couple of questions, and the first one is below. So one of the staples of our system, 2 of the 3 modes that we have, first ask Net Promoter Score. And we do this because we feel that Net Promoter Score is a very valuable business data point. And it is because what Net Promoter Score does in one question is help you understand future growth of your business and is that customer going to be loyal? So the question is, how likely would you recommend our company to a friend or colleague? And the user is answering that question on a 0 to 10 scale. So, you guys as consumers, if you're flying somewhere, stayed at a hotel, you have likely had these surveys put in front of you. Large organizations have used these for a number of years, well over a decade, because of both the simplicity and the actionable data that it gives them. In our case, depending on what type of business, you can change it. If you're a lawyer, you could ask for our firm, church, campground, school, shop. So, here with being a taco shop, I can say, would you recommend our restaurant to a friend or colleague? Now, what's really interesting about Net Promoter Score is it's not just a numeric average of like 8.2 or 9.4. Net Promoter Score buckets these numbers into 3 specific categories. And they are people who rate you a 9 or a 10. These are your promoters. These are people that would walk into a party and be like, man, is our taco catering this thing? I love these guys. Or I just ate there last night and you really need to go there. They have awesome margaritas. They're brand advocates, and that's why they're called promoters. They are likely to tell other people about your business, leading to referral business for your company and your next customers. Your 7 and 8s are called passives. So these are customers that you met their expectations, but you kind of fell short of wowing them. It might not be experience that they're going out of their way to tell each other about and get you more customers. And then your 0 to 6s, that very large bucket, is called your detractors. These are the opposite of your promoters. After their experience, they might even tell other customers to stay away from you or not to go there, or this is how bad my experience was with them. So what Net Promoter Score does is it takes the percentage of your promoters, your 9s and 10s, minus the percentage of your detractors, which is your 0 to 6s, and gives you a number on a 200-point scale. So the scale ends up being from a negative 100 to a positive 100. That's a little hard for people to wrap their minds around because we're always taught like 100-point scales in grades in school and everything else. So in Net Promoter Score, right, a 60 is a very solid Net Promoter Score. Where some people, they see that and they think they have a D-, when in the Net Promoter Score scale, they're actually sitting around like a B+. So definitely a little bit different to wrap your mind around, but again, a very powerful business metric in one simple question, help you know how your business is going to grow and expand from word of mouth business, which, is extremely important to people. So once they answer that one, then the next step that they're taken to is then where they're able to give more feedback. And so within our editor here, the main thing it's going to do is just capture comments. But let's say I wanted to add some specific survey questions as well. That feature is here in Ultimate mode. This is the only mode that we allow some survey questions to be asked. And it does it in kind of the same format. So it's a 10-point scale. Instead of using the NPS formula, here we do just use a normal 10-point scale. So here's where you get an 8.5 or a 9.2 for what that might be. So I'll just go ahead and add in a question here. And then I can change what the 0 and 10 values are going to be to display.
Do you recommend, just given the previous screen that we were on, that you consistently use 0 for like the lower end of the scale and 10 for the higher end of the scale?
So with Net Promoter Score, absolutely, you have to have 0 in there to be true Net Promoter Score. So it's not a 1 to 10, it is a 0 to 10. In this case with survey questions, you definitely don't have to. One thing that we found, so we found a few different things in our study that we definitely wanted to keep in line with. And one of those was familiarity for the user. So instead of having every survey question be different than a question they've already asked, we kept with the same 0 to 10 rating scale. Instead of one's a, just select 1 or just select 2 or a drop down or a fill in the blank, we want our surveying system and our customer feedback to be like friendly, lightweight, quick and easy, gives you enough info as the business. But we all know as a consumer, when we pile into something and we see it's 50 questions, like we quit. We don't want to take it. So, and we didn't want that because our research also showed, 74% of the consumers we surveyed said 5 questions or less is just fine with them. So we actually limit our survey questions to 4 questions is what you can add. And you can add, and use just 1 like I'm about to today, or you can add, just 2 or up to 4, whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. So again, it's up to you to customize. The open text feedback, you can word this however you want, right? The general is just how did you feel about your experience with us?
And on that screen, I saw there was a report keyword, and I assume that that's not visible to the person who receives.
Right.
Okay.
Yep, that's to label it. So then when you pull up your report later, you can see how this question is performing by the keyword that you put in for it.
Great.
Yeah. With all of these different steps, while you're doing it, you're able to like kind of visually see what's there, but then you can send yourself tests as well to be able to see what that process looks like. And after we, set this up and tweak it, I'll show you what it looks like when I send it in to my email inbox as well. So we'll go through the front side that the consumer sees. Then after that step, then the next step, if the customer was happy, what they would see would be the review. Oops, I don't want to go to that one. I want to go to the landing page. All right. So then after they answered and gave us feedback, then whatever that feedback is, they could copy that if they wanted. And then we're going to ask them to write the review on Google or Facebook. So our ultimate mode is what we call a 3-step process. You kind of looked at those 3 steps. The first is feedback request asking the NPS promoter score. The second step is survey questions and open text feedback, which also is your first party reviews. And then the third step is your third party reviews. So if you take that view on it, we then have kind of the next steps that would tell you what you need as well. So our review mode, we basically call that a 2-step. So there we have NPS questions, and then after they answer that, then they're taken to the email or to the third-party review landing page. So we don't ask survey questions. We don't have open text feedback directly to the business, which generates first-party reviews. It's just NPS and then the review sites. And then the third option we have, direct mode, is a 1-step process. So direct mode is basically in that very first email, it's going to put the review sites right in front of you. So you can ask and request for the reviews right in that very first email. And then you can also still have the private feedback route, which then goes back through a process like ultimate mode. One of the controls we have in here is you can choose if you want direct feedback to lead or you want it to be at the bottom of the review site. So right now it's set to bottom. So you see the give feedback button is below the 2 review sites that are here. If I change it to top, now the give feedback button is going to be over the top of those 2.
So we have a question from an attendee here that says, can you screen the reviews basically, or can you offer a pre-qualifier question like we are on these emails so they can qualify and see the reviews before they get sent to Facebook and Google? I guess my follow-up question to that is you just talked about a couple different modes, and does that depend on the mode you pick as well, whether low reviews are good to go to Google and Facebook or whether just the high ones will?
Yep. So a couple of things to answer that and to also provide some clarity around things, because this is a normal, like, fuzzy area for people. One, that we use the Net Promoter Score to currently like set a threshold, right? So you'd say anybody that's a 7 or above at the end of this process, we'll ask them for an online review. If they're a 6 and below, after we get their feedback from them, we're then going to say, hey, sorry, we didn't meet your expectations. Let us know what we could have done better. We're going to follow up with you. So we absolutely are able to, screen those users and set that threshold. So both ultimate mode and review mode allow you to do that because we base that off that Net Promoter Score question. And you're able to choose what that number is. So you could say 9 and higher, 7 and higher, 6 and higher. It's up to your discretion. Now, the last one, direct mode, that we're in right now, that doesn't do that, right? We're putting a link right up front. So with a lot of businesses, we either say like, hey, if you already know your level of service and you're comfortable with this, absolutely use direct mode to put review, 1 click away right in front of them. Or if you've used our system for a while and you have a very strong NPS and you see how customers are responding, then feel free to do it, right? If you have somebody that's an 80 or above in your Net Promoter Score consistently, then direct mode, if you care mostly about third-party reviews, then that's going to be a good source for you. But hopefully, as I show you some of these things, there's like the easy story or way I describe it is like what your customers think about you is a donut. Reviews are like the sprinkles, right? They're like the eye candy that people get excited about. But just because that eye candy's there, don't throw out the rest of the donut, right? You have customer feedback, you have survey scores, you have so many things that can help your business be better. And at the end of the day, that's what we're really about. We want to help companies, improve their business, because we find the best correlation between great reviews is a great business. So more than anything, we want to optimize that. I always like to point out, the point of our system is not to take 2-star customer service and somehow morph it into 5-star customer service just because they took a survey and clicked some buttons. So very important to point that out. And then to the question too, just to add a little bit of clarity, our site, does not force reviews. There aren't any sites that can do that. And in fact, someone in our space was somewhat forcing some action. So when you click to go to Google, they were pre-filling the stars within the Google review. And Google actually banned a ton of the reviews that came from that system, because it's all about making it easier for the customer to write a review. It's not manipulating the customer to write a review. So when they leave you that feedback, and the customer themselves, they have to choose to copy paste it. They have to go to the site, and they have to have a login at the site, right? We're not syndicating. No one can syndicate or force that user to do that, because that customer has to have a user account at any of the sites that they want to leave a review for. So anyway, at any time you can go back in, you can switch modes, you can edit all the different pieces and all the different steps with it. We also have follow-ups after you go through the process. So say you didn't click a review site, we then have an email that you can fire off, hours or days afterwards and say, hey, you gave us feedback and we love that, but we'd still love if you consider to post an online review. So we have reminders built into those steps as well if we see them not completing the step before that. All right, so with that, let's say, you go through and you set up that business, and, now you need to go in and kind of add customers, right? We have a few different options for adding customers into our system. So, the easiest to use is just a manual add a single customer, right? So I can just go in and add myself. And it will send me a feedback request. Now, you notice we have mobile and SMS. So we do, in our basic plan only includes email reach out, but in our pro plans, you get SMS credits, and I'll show how that feature works as well. But you can send out SMS requests for people to start the process that way as well. Not to go super deep into it today in the time that we have, but you're also able to attach like a customer ID or a job ID. So this could be an invoice number or a job number, things like that. So if you have other criteria that you might want to understand later on, you're able to do so with it. And then you can also tag a customer. And I'll show you how the tag feature comes into play later, because we actually allow you to display customer comments by a specific tag. So this could be the product they bought or the service they used or the town they were in. Local SEOs love to use this feature because they can group all of their clients in Milwaukee together, and then group all of their customers that were in Madison, Wisconsin together, and display those testimonials on those specific pages. So I'll just click to send that feedback request. Now it's going to kick me back to that customer dashboard, and it's going to let me know that it has sent a feedback request to myself. One other thing to point out in this screen, once you start adding customers, we have two communication methods. One is manual, which just means you put it in and you're going to have to click to send it or check off to send it. The other is automatic. And what automatic means is if I upload a list, and I'll show you how we do that next, it will automatically drip those customers out. So if I uploaded a list of 100, to have the right flow of customers, and when you get feedback or reviews displaying and not to have them all bunched up on one date, the best thing to do is to drip them out. So if I was going to upload customers, once a week, and I have 100 customers, once a week, I'd want to set 15 to 20, to drip out every single day within the system. So we'll drip it out from your system and give a nice normal flow to what your customer process is. So that's how automatic and manual work. If I want to import a list of customers, I'm just going to go to import. I'm going to go and choose a file. I just have a test customer list here. It's going to upload it. Really nice column matching, so it doesn't matter the order you have your columns in. We're going to give you a little preview on what we see in your spreadsheet, and then you map it to the fields in our system. So yes, that's the first name. Yes, that's the last name. Yes, that's the email, and I added some tags this one, so we're all good. If I didn't want to, use the tags, I can just, tell it, nope, skip this exact one. So if anything doesn't match up, you're able to easily go back to it and then change what it is. Then finish adding my subscribers. Now it's going to let me know there's 5 in that list. They're all added. If there's duplicates or invalids, it would let me know at that time as well.
Aaron, I saw on those pages that there was a checkbox saying like I have the permission to email these customers and whatnot.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit more about like questions that you should be asking in your store to get that permission, or sort of how to best get that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in this day and age, you definitely want to seek the customer's permission when you're getting contact information from them, right? So name, email, phone number. If you're doing it in a written process, that's really easy stuff to include within the sheet they're filling out. If they're doing electronically, right, a little checkbox that says like, hey, I'm giving you this information so you can communicate with me. So yeah, definitely important to get that permission of the customer that's there. And that responsibility is just, part of where we're saying like, hey, you business, you're absolutely saying that, you've obtained your customer's information within a process they understand before you send it out. So for the majority of businesses, they're already baking this in, but yeah, anywhere that you're capturing that info, you want to let them know that you're going to be using it to reach out for them with business purposes. The nice thing about this, right? Asking for feedback as a business purpose, you don't have to tell them that it's for a marketing reason, right? So in this case, it kind of helps you with that. And that's why we see just so much higher of a feedback rate and like an open rate on these types of emails compared to like your monthly email marketing. All right, so we added in those customers. Now you can see that they all populated there. A couple other things to point out if you're, looking to like automate this process instead of lists or add a customer. So we do have a Zapier app out in the marketplace. So this helps you automate things like if you're updating a Google Sheet, it can automatically send customers to our system. When you create an invoice in QuickBooks Online or FreshBooks, it can send them into our system. It can send them out of Gmail. Zapier has over 1,000 apps out in the marketplace that you can hook together, and it can be a free, depending upon what you're using and the amount of customer volume, or a very low cost way to automate without needing a developer or coding, right? It's grabbing the API key from one and the API key from another and saying, okay, when this happens in this app, then send that info to this app. So really straightforward. You don't have to be a developer at all to understand how to set that up. So a lot of our agencies will use Zapier integrations with customers to automate it instead of having to physically get a sheet or get customers from them. And then, of course, if you are more technical, we do have a full-blown API, so you can use our API to integrate it to, your own CRM or a POS and things like that as well. All right, so with that, the one other thing I wanted to jump in while we're on here right now is taking a look at SMS and what that looks like. So when we come into the SMS screen, we give you a couple of different options. Our plans include SMS credits when you're on the Pro plan and higher. So you're able to either send just a regular text message and you get 160 characters, or you can send an image with the text message and then you get 240 characters. So, then you can go and grab and select a specific image. It might be your logo, or you could even create something specifically to go into it, and that's going to populate in that text message as well. Same simple editor where you can create exactly what you want to say to the user, and then has the feedback URL within it. So we give you a little glimpse in the preview here. You can send a test to yourself as well. Once the user clicks on it, then they go through the same process that an email customer would. Email customer starts in an email, this customer starts in a text, but then you go right into a mobile browser to complete the process. All right, so with that, let's go back, and I'd sent myself a request, so let's jump out to my Gmail. I'll warn people right now, I'm not a zero inbox guy, so do not be scared at the number you see in my Gmail account. That's just normal for me. It doesn't cause me any panic. All right, so with that, you see I have the email from our taco asking me for feedback. So come in here and just as I am the customer, ask me how likely to recommend. I love our taco, so giving them a 10 is no problem for me. Then we let them know, like, thanks for letting know if you'd refer us. Here we have a couple other questions. How delicious was my taco? It was a 10. And now I can leave my comments.
I know that you're in the middle of leaving comments here. If someone just chooses to answer the Net Promoter section and doesn't answer this part, will the local business still receive the Net Promoter Score feedback?
Yes, every step you complete is logged. So yeah, if there is attrition through any of the steps, you still know the customer opened, they gave NPS. It'll still fire a reminder to them to write a review via email if they leave NPS, because we still know if they were a positive or negative customer.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's still a lot of benefits, even if the customer drops off at one step where they just decide not to move forward any farther.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll leave my comment, send feedback. Since I'm a positive customer, now it's going to tell me, hey, would you, go and write a review for that business? And if I wanted to write a Google review, I click yes. And then from the link we detected before, it's automatically going to pull up and then populate the, review box there.
And that's on the Google My Business listing, which if you're a
Yes.
local business and you have not set up your Google My Business listing yet, I would highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And in this case, since I've reviewed our taco before, because I love these guys, my review's already there. I'd be editing an already existing review that I've left for these guys of 5 stars.
Looks like you can't give them a higher rating. So
where's the 5.5 tacos? I mean, they're fabulous. So as you can see, right, these guys do really well, right? 4.5 at TripAdvisor, 4.4 at Google, a little lower on Yelp. That's a very common thing with the Yelp foodies. We'll see some discrepancies there. So that definitely gives you an idea on, what it looks like for the consumer side. It's a very, smooth, visually appealing, well brandable process. And the one we went through that's our largest process, right? We could have added a few more survey questions, but that's the 3-step process with it. If this was, the review mode and just a 2-step, after I hit this 10, I would immediately be asked if I want to leave an online review. And if it was a 1-step process, it would have been right here in the email for me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now when I jump back into the platform, one of the things that we're really looking to do is not just be like this little factory that customers come in and reviews come out the other side. Again, when I talked about, we really want to give you a lot of rich data. What we do over time is build out a customer profile for you. So you can see my profile here. It's at a high level showing me like my NPS was a 10. Here is my comments. We half them into a 5-star rating, and I'll show you, where that ends up appearing and how people use that on their website. That's a feature people really love. Lets them know I clicked a review link and I came from being sent an email. So now when I click into my name, now it's going to take me into my customer profile where I can see everything of what I left, all of my customer information, when I was added, when I opened, when I clicked, and specifically what I clicked. And what we also do with this is, say I went back into our taco in 6 months and ate again, and they sent me another feedback request, it would add that feedback request to my history. So we're going to build out a history over time. And there's a setting where you can choose, right? It's a suppression setting where you can say, hey, anybody in within 30 days, we don't want to overwhelm them with feedback requests, so don't send it to them. So if they come in at 35 days, we'll send them one. If they come in after 22 days, we're not going to send them one. When we add them to the system, it'll let us know, like, hey, it's within the suppression range. Here's the ability where I was talking about before. So now I can tag this specific piece of feedback. So if I want to tag it, like say I'm going to display on the menu page about Baja tacos, so I can just tag it Baja and it'll add that tag to it. And then when I move along to show you what the widget looks like and how you control those things, you'll see how you can build something that has something related to that. I can tag it multiple things where I can do Baja and taco. And then I also have the ability to respond to that customer. So I can privately respond and it will send an email to that customer. So I can say, hey, Aaron, thanks for coming in. Glad you liked it. Hope we see you again soon. And then we also have a public response where the widget that I'm soon to show you, you can actually reply, and that reply will show up in the widget that's displayed on your website. So really nice feature to have continued dialogue with the customer. When you publicly respond, it still sends that customer an email as well.
Great.
So now if I jump over into our settings and I'm going to go to our review widget. So I have this great feedback from a customer. They may or may not have left an online review as well. But I wanted a way to display the great feedback and reviews that I'm getting for my business. So we have a few different options. We have our general review widget. We have our review badge, and then we have the tag widget as well. So if I go into the settings for the general widget, now I have a number of choices that I can make on what I want to display within that widget. So we're just coming out of beta with this, and it's a really nice new addition, is you will be able to display both your first-party testimonials, so this is the comments made directly to you, and we'll also display the third-party reviews as well. So I can pull that together and say, yeah, show my Google and my Facebook reviews. I want to show any reviews I get that are above 3.5 stars, and any third-party reviews on Google and Facebook that are above 3.5 stars. And there's also granular control, especially for your individual comments. You can turn those on or off to appear on the website, but this will just automatically stream them to be there. I can set, what do I want the widget place to be? Let me just grab a URL to activate this real quick.
And Aaron, I assume that those reviews are going to be displayed in an SEO friendly way, so Google will be able to see on the site like these are great.
Yep. Yeah. So what we do is display all of the first party reviews with review schema with rich snippets. So it's really important to understand, and it's the reason why we used to not have third party reviews within our widget, is you cannot mark up third party reviews because they've already been marked up, right? Yelp is marking up theirs, Google's marking up theirs, Facebook's marking up theirs, and Google's guidelines to rich snippets and schema is not to mark up third party reviews. So the widget that we create that you embed in your site or use a WordPress plugin to embed, you cannot have those marked up. So we only mark up the first party reviews, and then you also see the third party reviews in with it. So very important for people to understand that. So now that I've gone through and created that, if I want to hit preview, this kind of shows me, this is what I would end up seeing on my site.
I just wanted to give you a quick heads up. If you could hit the screen sharing button again, it dropped off for a little bit there.
Okay.
There we are. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, I might have accidentally clicked something moving around from tab to tab there. So sorry about that.
Easy to do.
All right. So I'm going to go back to the customer dashboard. I'm going to hit that it's okay to show the comment that I just left. We obviously have already gone out and grabbed a bunch of reviews as well. So when I go back to the widget and I made just a few settings with it, I can control even more settings. But when I hit preview, this is the widget that would then be created that you display on your site. So you can see here's my comment from today, giving it 5 out of 5 stars and what I had to say with it. And then after that, we can see the reviews that have been pulled in from Google. So Google reviews are also displayed along with it, but they don't count in the rating or the total overall count, because again, that would be in violation of the terms of service for Google. And the user, and I'll show you a couple of these placed on a site, right? They can drill down and say, okay, sweet, just show me, only the Facebook reviews. And now I can see just the Facebook reviews. I want to see their Google reviews, and it would only show me those. Or when I want to see all, then it'll be both first and third party reviews.
Awesome.
So yeah, a number of different options, making that a very popular thing. So now I'll just jump out. Here's a site. I have a couple different ones just to give you some variation. Using the new review widget. So they have a page dedicated to reviews and testimonials. They have a thank you card gallery you can look at where people handwrite in. I mean, that's really cool and authentic. But for some of the other benefits in SEO, so here is our review widget, right? So they're displaying 89 total first-party reviews, 4.9 out of 5 stars. You're also able to initiate a feedback button on here, so you can go into the feedback process through the website this way. And now you can see the different ones, right? So this is direct to the company. This was from Facebook. This one is from the Better Business Bureau, another Facebook, a Google. And here's a great way to see the public response, right? So Carolyn left them the comment that went directly back to them, and Will, the owner, responded and said, you know, grateful for your kind words and the 5-star rating with your business. Look forward to serving you again. So nice little, review response dialogue right here within the widget on the site.
We have 2 pricing questions. I see
Yep.
those. Believe me, we'll get to them in a couple minutes. In terms of, we got a question from an anonymous attendee that says, you know, someone types a review on Google and types a review on Facebook. You just showed us one way to see that in the GetFiveStars product. But can you actually respond directly from within the 5-stars product as well, or do you have to go to Facebook to type a response?
Yeah. So currently we're just in beta and getting ready to release. So you'll be able to respond to Google reviews right from within our dashboard. That's part of the Google API that we're just wrapping up some testing. So I would say sometime in March, that feature will be live in the product. But for the other ones, we provide direct links to them. So it goes out to the profile and then you respond from there. So really the easy answer is Google will be the only one for now. But we're hoping to add others as we go along with it. But when I show you like the reviews report, like all of the reviews are there, and we also send review notifications when a new review comes up. We send you an email to let you know what those new reviews are.
And that the alerts are very useful. That definitely helps with monitoring. So
yeah, absolutely. And since we're talking about it, let's just jump right there, and we'll go there next. So we have a number of different reports depending upon what level, what plan you're using with our service. At a high level, and why don't I'm just going to jump into a location that is a little bit more data in it. So I'll jump into one of my fake world famous Aaron's Auto locations. I would be a terrible mechanic, so it's definitely a fake business. So one thing, if I go into the very first one, is our performance report. And the performance is designed to kind of give you a high-level view of a number of different reports that we have. So first and foremost is Net Promoter Score. And we find the middle section of the NPS breakdown, this helps show you the formula, right? So you're able to see out of 61 customers that responded, 39 were promoters, which is 64% of them, and 5 were detractors, which is 8% of them. So our NPS is a 56, the 64 minus 8. So it helps you understand how that Net Promoter Score is achieved, and we kind of give you some of the better guidelines for where it's at to help you understand. We have the survey question rating. So my automotive shop, we want to know how fast our service was. We have pizza in the waiting room. How good was that? What our service was and how you rated our value. We track your Net Promoter Score over time and how customers, the feedback that's come in and what they've given you. High level on reviews that have been detected and how many have grown since you started. And then we give you an idea of what the feedback funnel looks like compared to sends and opens and feedback received and click to review sites. And we have a number of other passive ways into the platform that we also help service here too. So this is a very high level report, and you can actually set to get an automated PDF of this report weekly or monthly within each location. So we can bring the information right to you. If I ever wanted to get in and see different, normal things you expect with reports, date ranges, custom date ranges, saving it as a PDF. Now let's jump to, since we were talking about reviews, let's jump to the review report. So when I come into the review report, now you're going to see from the sites that we're monitoring, what's your overall rating, how many reviews, how many in the last 30 days, how many since you've joined, the rating types from 5-star to 1-star, how many at each review source, how many reviews by month are coming in, so you can see the rating and the number of reviews that have come in that month. And then we have each individual online review here. So you're able to see each specific review. It's first there in chronological order. If I want to order them specifically by site or by rating, I'm able to do that. If I want to download all the review data into a CSV file, we can pull it all out of there, and then you can bring it into your CRM or other pieces like that. We have the direct view link. And then if this account was integrated with the GMB authorization, we'd have a reply link here as well. So you could reply right into the system. So it gives you all of your review information that is available. Then we also have, if you're like a multi-location or you even want to do a date comparison, you're able to click the comparison tab. And then I can just go through and say, okay, Aaron's Auto has 4 locations in it. So I want to compare this flagship location to another location. I want to look at the West Side location. Then I'm going to add that in. And now it basically builds out, 2 separate cards, one on the West Side, one on the main location. And it's going to give me a chart, like how do they compare for review rating? Or if I wanted to say, by type, who's doing the best with 4 stars, or who's getting the most Google reviews. It's going to give me all that data.
You comparing your locations against each other, there's no option for like, how's my business doing versus the coffee shop down the street or anything like that.
Yeah, no, we don't have any competitive data in here yet. Someday in the future, I mean,
Sure.
Right, the engine's already there. We just need to plug that data. Haven't got to that point, but yeah, it's just all within yourself. If you're just a one location, right, then you can just compare it to a date range of that location. So similar to being in Google Analytics, if you wanted to look at Q1 versus Q2, January versus February, you're able to make those determinations. If you're a multi-location, you can look at that location, versus the entire brand, and how does the average of everybody in the brand do. So a number of different things that you can do in competitive and comparison type ways, even for one location or multi-locations, it really comes in handy.
And it sounds like down below, I like how you can sort by review ratings. So you can say, okay, what are the majority of my like 1 and 2 star reviews focus on? How can I improve? That seems really cool.
Yep, absolutely. And then when you go and create these, so you can do like 5 or 6 different comparisons all at once. Once you do those, you could save that into a specific template. And so then you can just come back in one-click access and automatically apply it. So once you go through the process of, filters and clicking and whatever else, you can be like, all right, sweet. I want to just call this, Riker Super Report. And this is what I always need to look at when I come to that page. So I can just click it and then get that same report every time I come back in.
Great.
One feature we're really excited about that we just released, and we are the only provider in the market to have this, is hopefully some of you are aware of Google Questions and Answers. This is a new feature to Google within, basically the last 2 months when it made it to desktop in late November. I need to jump into a location that has some questions. But here, I'll jump out to Google real quick and show you where this information is. So when you do a search and in the knowledge panel, right over on the right side for that business, so I just did a quick search for the Mall of America. That's what most people think of when they hear them from Minnesota. Is Google has introduced this section right here called Questions and Answers. So what it allows consumers to do is ask a question, and then other consumers can answer that question, or businesses can answer that question. And this is kind of a new, what we call it, this is a new reputation spot that's Google's feeding right into the knowledge panel. And they're also using different mechanisms to ping customers who have checked in or reviewed you or taken a photo of your place in the past and asking them to come back and answer those questions. So you can see here a place like Mall of America has a ton of questions, right? 272 of them. And some of them can be really easy and straightforward, like, are there a good amount of restaurants there? And you can see this person has answered. There's also 9 other consumers that have answered that question. And what Q&A does is allows customers to upvote to say, yeah, this is the answer that I like the best on it. So you can go in and I can just vote for that answer right now, change it from 12 to 13, and that'll be the answer that displays the most on it. So once you have one question and one answer that has at least one upvote, it will display right here in the search results. Otherwise, you'll just get a question and answer and then ask a question. But as you can see, a lot of these accumulate. And what we found is Google has built some terrible features in to actually be alerted or understand. And if you're a multi-location business, there's nothing for you. So we built in a monitoring service that works just like review monitoring does. And we're monitoring for new questions and new answers that appear. So when you come in, the account I'm in right now is just for small little Chinese restaurant in the town where I live. And you're both going to get an email alert, and then it's going to pull it into this report to let you know what's there, right? So their common question here, do they have a buffet? And here's what, the top voted answer with just one vote is no, but they have great lunch special. And there's also 4 additional answers that you'd want to know what they are, right? So the business itself, you might want to upvote a credible answer, or you might need to jump in and provide your own answer in there. And then we provide a status for you. So you can go and choose like, okay, I've already looked at this, right? So I can close it or open it. If it's something that violated the terms of service, where specific information was shared or bad language against Google's terms of service, you can report it. And so then you can mark it like, hey, I reported that one. So it makes it really easy to come in and then, know what's in there. You can filter down, all right, just show me any of the open questions and go through it that way. So Google Q&A is available in our Pro plan and up, and it's the first of its kind, and it's extremely helpful for people because in our initial studies, we were looking at about 1,700 businesses in our case studies, and we found that about 25 to 30% of all businesses already have a question out there. So definitely an area to pay attention to, and some more than others. When we got into big box retail, like 95% of Targets, Home Depots, and Walmarts have questions and answers on them. So it's definitely a rising feature that Google is making more front and center, and they're having more and more users interact with it.
And Aaron, you touched on this. I just want to reiterate it. With Google Question and Answers, anyone can ask a question and anyone can provide an answer. So the potential for misinformation there, unfortunately, depending on a variety of different factors, is potentially pretty high.
Yeah, and what's also important to point out is businesses can ask questions as well. So one of the things, so we did a really nice three post blog series on the GetFiveStars blog. I'd tell you to check those out. We're going to release an ebook on it too here pretty quickly. But if you're a business and you don't have one out there, I would definitely seed 2 or 3 questions out there to kind of, it helps inform users kind of what the feature is for, right? And so if you're going to write a question as a business, definitely write it in more of a customer's frame of mind, right? Like don't write a marketing message. Write a question that is something you get frequently asked when people call your business or when they walk in and want to know something. And then you can answer it as well. And then you want to answer in your business tone, right? And it'll show the little icon of that you're a business when you answer it. Now, immediately you can't see, right? If I jump back to this question, you can't see who's asked the question to start with, right? So I don't know who is asked, does this place have a wide array of restaurants, until I click in to get in more information. Now it lets me know that Alex is the person who asked this question. So when the business asks a question, that's not visible right away up front, so you can see that the business asked. Now, when you reply and answer that question, you will get the GMB icon next to it, and it will say that the business owner is the one answering the question.
Aaron, I could talk to you about this all day. And
but we can't.
We're at about an hour here, and thank you. Do you have time for one more question and then one or 2 pricing questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
So an anonymous attendee asks, hey, how are some businesses that you've worked with using this for customer retention and also customer recovery? And I know that's a broad question and we only have a few minutes, but what's sort of a quick way to respond to that?
Yeah, so the best way is, right, when you're using Net Promoter Score and you're using text feedback and you're understanding the value in having a conversation privately with your customer is huge. So when you reach out and ask them how it was and they fire back and say, hey, it wasn't great and I didn't interact with anybody in the store, or as we all know now, right, consumers have a different level of communication once they get behind a keyboard or a phone. It's important to understand what that is. So when you see someone come in with a low score and you get that alert that they were a low score and they had a bad experience, you can then determine if do you want to call them? Do you want to email them? Do you want to reach back out to them and say like, hey, we're sorry, it went wrong. Can we fix it? Can we do something about it? Can we get you to, come back in again and give you the right kind of experience that we want to deliver to you? So yeah, guest recovery, that stuff, completely awesome. Our, restaurants and hotels, although, from single locations on up to large chains, like they use it more for that than anything else, right? Reviews are happening in their space. What they want to do is limit the amount of unhappy customers that feel, hey, it's way easier to complain on Facebook or Google than it is to figure out how to give this business feedback. So when you're asking for that business, you're like light years ahead of what you're doing. And then, I really highlighted it all the ways today that you can proactively ask for feedback. We have a number of things, like I can't go through all our features. Again, we only have an hour today, but we have a number of ways where you can place links on your site that allow people looking for ways to give feedback to be able to reach out to you and give feedback, whether you're a 1 location or a 1,000 location entity.
Awesome. So we also have 2 pricing questions here.
Okay.
I think the first one is, if you're managing either multiple locations or if you're an agency managing multiple clients, when is it a good idea to make a single account with multiple locations under it? And when is it better to create like 2 separate accounts entirely from each other?
Yeah. So I would say for anyone who's primarily working with like, 1, 2, 4, 5 location type businesses and you're a reseller, a digital marketer, like just have one reseller account. We have a labeling system that allows you to tie those locations together. So you're able, if you had like a 4 location dog grooming business, you'd be able to create a label for those, tie those together. Then when if you give the customer access to the platform, they only see those 4 locations, nothing else, because you give them access to that label. And you can manage and report and do all those things that way as well. So I say based on efficiency, you want to put all of your locations in just one account. I mean, we have accounts with hundreds and thousands of locations that resellers manage all in that account. The only time you want to break it off is if you get into someone really large, and then it just can become a lot easier because based on some integrations or the API or things like that, to have them in their own separate account. So that's really where I look at that. And the way our billing works, with that, you are going to get a much better break by having them all in the same account, because we just go through every month and see how many locations, and we charge per location per month based on the plan that you're on. And so for resellers, right, to kind of, I guess, explain, and I think you're going here next, Eric, so you won't get mad at me for going this direction.
No.
But within pricing, right, we have 4 different plans that have some different inclusions and different levels for how much email you can send or SMS credits. Some of the features that I showed, like Google Q&A monitoring or Twitter monitoring. This is all like a per location, right? But once you start having more than one location, then that price goes down per location, right? So if you're on the basic plan, once you have 2 locations, now instead of $39 a month, it's $29 a month per each location. And so what we do for our agencies and resellers is we allow you to bind all of those together. So if you had, 28 one location clients, you'd be paying $18 a month just for each of those one location clients if they're all on the basic plan. So you don't have to, you don't have to be a multi-location business to get a price break. We allow you to accumulate all of those locations and count them all as one entity. And then you also have control. Different locations can be at a different plan level. So if you have one customer that wants to do text and have Google Q&A monitoring and needs to send a little more stuff, they can be on the Pro Plus or an Executive, where your next location can just be on the basic plan. And you get the same price break for that level. So it's not like, well, because I only have one Executive, it's $199. If you had, 27 other base locations and one Executive, you'd pay the $140 mark for the pricing of the 26 to 40. So we make it very, very cost friendly for agencies and resellers to get in. And the good news, as you grow your account and you already have a set fee that you're charging the customer, you're just increasing your profit margin as you go along.
Sure, absolutely.
And we automatically bill the reseller. You're free to charge the client whatever you want. We have no caps with that. So whatever you're paying us is what you're paying us. You use your billing system to bill your customer.
Great. And it's good to see the options for single location businesses as well. So thank you for going over both of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
If anyone has any last minute questions, I know we're already going on 9 minutes over, but please submit them now. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up in just a moment or two here. Alrighty, yeah, it seems like you covered the essential topics. I know, once again, as you said, you can't go over every feature.
Yep.
If we could, but I encourage you guys to check out GetFiveStars. This is a great introduction. I know that the GetFiveStars team is great, and they'll be willing to help you out with any follow-up questions you may have. Aaron, if people want to go ahead and register, how do they get in touch with a representative over there?
Yeah. So an easy way, I loved, for anybody who's on the webinar today, if you want to sign up and you want half off your first month, what you need to do is drop an email to Chris, who's one of our account execs. So it's just Chris, CHRIS at GetFiveStars. Tell him you're on the webinar with me today, and he'll send you back a link to sign up that gives you 50% off of your first month. He also deals with all of our agencies. So if you are an agency, he can answer a ton of questions for you related to that. Otherwise, if you want to pay full price, you can go to the website and just hit sign up. You're more than welcome to do that. But if you want a little price break for the first month, go ahead. We don't do a free trial, but we do a 30-day money-back guarantee on it, right? So if you're not happy, that happens to us very little. Most people are usually pretty supercharged once they get in there and get to do everything. So we do offer that. We just don't do a free trial with it. So invite you to email, again, Chris at GetFiveStars and get going. I'm a very social guy. If you want to connect with me on Twitter, our website, we blog a ton. We love sharing a lot of data and knowledge, and we have a lot of thought leadership around, the local search space. Please give us a follow there, and happy to engage with you through those channels.
Awesome. Well, thank you to everyone who attended today. Thank you, Aaron, so much for taking the time to talk to us. I thought this was a really great webinar. If you have any questions or comments going forward, please feel free to comment on the Facebook video or comment on the website, and we will get them answered. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks, Riker. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.